Blake Griffin just found a new home. He's going from Detroit to Brooklyn, teaming up with three All-Stars, his old teammate DeAndre Jordan. Um, I don't know what to expect from this. It's honestly, obviously, it's a good pickup for the Nets. Adding another player who could pretty much do whatever he wants on the floor, at least a healthy Blake, but it does not help them out defensively at all. They're already not a great defensive team. Now you're bringing in someone who doesn't really play any defense. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I'll let Choder start this one out with his take on this. What do you think about Blake to Brooklyn?
I don't really got too much to say about it. I think it's a good pickup for Brooklyn, especially after kind of sending two pretty good players in Karis LeVert and Jared Allen over to get James Harden. They get more size. I felt like, yeah, but you made up a great point that it's not going to help them on defense. But that's probably just not even – that's probably just to bring in some firepower off the bench. Like I read a report, he's probably going to be the five coming off
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't got too much. I think he's a good fit. I think they'll all get along pretty well. I think now that he's playing for a team that's actually competing for something, I think he'll bring it. So yeah, I'm really excited for Blake. I hope he kind of bounces back because he had one really good year in Detroit, but I mean he's either been hurt or they just haven't been good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Yeah, that was this. I had a few things to say about this topic because I think he's a wild card. Like you really don't know what you're gonna get. I think because like Chodo brought up, he did really good 2 years ago. He was averaging 24, and I remember that because
don't say it. We're not.
No, but I always bring up the fantasy team thing because that's kind of like where a lot of my knowledge about the game comes from or about stats. So I keep up with like how players are doing based on that usually because I look at the stats during the season. But that year he had a 50-point game that year. He was consistently scoring a lot. And I remember in the playoffs, they got swept, but he was like the only thing keeping them in games sometimes. And so like I do think there's still a lot of potential there, but I looked at the stats and that year he was going crazy, but the last 2 years he's only played 38 games combined.
Yeah.
And he shot under 40% from the field and he's averaging 12 points this year. So I think he's a wild card because it's like, I don't know if these past few seasons where he hasn't played well is because of motivation or injury or just he's fading away, like he's not as talented anymore. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with his athleticism, but like the year that he was averaging 24, he wasn't doing anything really with athleticism. It was kind of skill. Like that's why I think he can fit on this team because he's kind of a playmaker as a big. He's a good passer, and he's a big body. Of course, if he was athletic, still it'd be a whole different story. But I see him as like a high IQ player now with a pretty good shot too. So I think he can fit in the team really well. It's just I don't know about health because he hasn't been healthy these last few seasons, and also I don't know if he just isn't as good anymore or if it's just because he wasn't motivated. Now that he's playing with a former teammate and then they're now the title contenders, he might fit in perfectly. Plus, I do think he's going to shoot better from the field because everybody on Brooklyn gets open shots because you have to worry about everybody on Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I think it'll work.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Marlon said about him he's gonna be getting open a lot more. I've had like a couple arguments with people like saying like, oh, they're like, oh, Blake's washed, like he doesn't really do anything for them. But like the teams he's been on, he's never really had like a player. He's definitely never had a player like KD or Harden. I guess the best is Chris Paul. Really, he's played with. When you got him with Harden, KD, and Kyrie, like he's their fourth option. Like he doesn't need to have those 24, 25 point games. Like if he could put up 15 points, you know what I'm saying, and just be out there to be a threat. Like, I mean, that just gives so much depth to the Nets team. And I feel like they're the Nets especially are in a rotation of like one person's out load managing and then they keep two stars in. then it'll be like Harden's turn to load manage, and then I feel like that's what they're going to keep doing as the second half comes around. So having a player like Blake who can give you like maybe 20 if KD or Harden's out, it's going to help them like at the rest of the season and also in the playoffs. So I think it's a good pickup for them. Blake, I mean, yeah, he hasn't really had a good last 2 years, but I mean, his second full year in Detroit, like the only season he played 75 games, he was an all-star. So, which is the year he averaged 24. So, I mean, we'll see. I think playing in Brooklyn too will, I don't know, motivate him more. Like if you're playing in Detroit and you're not really competing for anything, maybe you sit out a couple games, you just don't feel like being there. But I think he'll do well in Brooklyn.
That way.
Yeah, one thing I really like about Blake too. I mean, you remember when he came in the league, he was just this high flyer from Oklahoma. Everyone knows him for jumping over a Kia. Everyone knows him for dunk contest Blake, all of his posters. But with how much he's changed his game because of his athleticism going down with age, I mean, he's still like an athletic freak, but he's changed his game so much where he can do so much more on the floor. I mean, the dude became a real facilitator on the floor instead of just being a lob threat, a post up threat, and a respectable 3-point shooter. I really like his fit there. I really wish if he's gonna have to improve his defense, of course.
Yeah.
To be on the floor with all of them. There's already not enough defense. That's one thing with the Nets. Every single time I'm making bets, just bet the over every single game because they're gonna score at least 120, 130 points a night, but they're gonna give up about 110, 120 every night as well. And especially having DJ down low, I think it's gonna be a great fit just for the fact that he's gonna have someone he already knows right away. So the chemistry is gonna be able to fit in pretty nice. Then the big thing too as well, you're seeing Blake. We're all in agreement. It's a good fit. I wonder how well he's going to actually take coming off the bench at first, because that's going to be the first time in his career he's actually doing that. But with him doing that, and now there's another buyout rumor of somebody else getting bought out, and that's Andre Drummond.